This is the B&O Sports Show with your hosts, Tanner Ballard and Garrett Otto. Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to the B&O Sports Show. This is episode 8 of the podcast, and we are no longer on the football edition. This is just episode 8 of the general B&O Sports Show podcast. It's time, man, we're moving on, Garrett. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you, Tanner?
I'm doing fine. It was a good week of NFL playoff football, and got a lot going on here in the NBA, some NHL stuff. We're going to be talking all about it in this podcast, so let's jump right in without further ado. We had, like I just said, an excellent weekend of NFL football. It's the last two of the last 3 games, the conference championships. A lot of fun, good games. It was a good Sunday. Garrett, how much did you enjoy the Broncos-Patriots game? What were your initial thoughts on that one as you were watching?
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from a perspective of not liking the Patriots and not liking Tom Brady, but it was also a fairly good football game in general. It's great to see Peyton Manning back out there and throwing the ball around as well as he can. And it's good to see him. He's moving on to the Super Bowl. I mean, it would be great to see him get a ring. I think he knows he's done. I would assume he'll be done after the season, but you never know. He's Peyton Manning. He can do anything. But I think if he wins the Super Bowl and walks out with the ring, I think that'll give him that extra initiative to go out on top.
Right. Yeah, it's like the fairy tale ending, right? Speaking of, after the game, when he went and shook Bill Belichick's hand, I don't know if you heard this, but he said, "This might be my last rodeo, and it's been a pleasure playing against you." So that was, definitely an added hint that this might be his last rodeo. As he said, this might be Peyton Manning's last season in the NFL, which would be sad, very sad for the game. Maybe he'll continue with those Papa John's commercials. And what's the other one? Nationwide?
Oh yeah, Nationwide.
Maybe he'll maybe he'll continue with those.
What's the chicken parm one? Something about, with the jingle.
Yeah. Right. He's watching the cooking show, and he's like, "Chicken parm, you too."
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. Oh, boy.
And then he takes a bite of it.
Jeez.
Oh, man. And now they got, who all is in the Papa John's commercial? It's Peyton, it's Papa John.
Peyton, Papa John,
Joe Montana.
and Gronk.
J.J. Watt.
No, yeah, you're right, J.J. Watt. Oh, man.
J.J. Watt.
I always mix those two up. I do. I always mix those two up. I don't know why.
It's understandable.
They're both big guys, and they have some pretty big personalities, too. Yeah, J.J. Watt, he does not strike me as someone...
How did he find himself on a Papa John's commercial?
Man, I don't know. Joe Montana, I was actually thinking about it the other day, like, Joe Montana, who is definitely in contention for, like, the best quarterback of all time, he's kind of like...
Right.
I don't really see him much in the media, but man, now that you bring it up, Papa John's. What a...
He is... Joe Montana is starting to show up in... I mean, obviously he's in those Papa John's commercials, but I think he was in something else. Maybe it's those Heisman commercials during college football, the Nissan Heisman house commercials.
They've got
possibly that, possibly those AT&T commercials with the playoff thing, where they were like all of the analysts were like on a board.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those are actually pretty funny. Some of those. I have really enjoyed those.
I think all the great players, they kind of just take some time off. Because, I mean, man, I'd be sick of all the media, too, if I were them. And, I think they take the time off, but now they're getting back out there. I don't know if you saw at the end of the Patriots-Broncos game, I don't know if you went back and watched this. I have never seen... I'm in the TV club in my high school, work with them a lot. I've never seen people run and they sprinted out to Peyton Manning. He took that snap, and the clock finally ran out, and I swear within like 7.5 seconds, he was surrounded, and he's poor Peyton Manning. He's just standing there holding his helmet, and he's got the game ball, and he's just kind of standing there waiting for Tom Brady or Bill Belichick to come out, and he's like enclosed in this circle of cameras and microphones. It's insane. The amount of attention the media puts on these people. I'd be tired of it.
Yeah.
I'd be out. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't blame them. That's they should make that like either part of the Olympics or like they should have a combine for cameramen where you have to 100-yard dash with the camera on you and like, can't break it.
How stable can you the best stable shot you can get.
It's a right. It's a worthy option.
Or like put them in a
we'll set it up someday.
Yeah, put them in a tough position and make Odell have one-handed catches and see who can get the best shot,
Get the angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was speaking of that catch real fast, you just made me think the pylon camera that they created. Was his catch near the pylon?
It was right there cuz he came down. He got like practically pulled down by the defender, but he caught it and he didn't he wasn't far into the end zone. He barely made it into the end zone. That pylon cam might have come in handy.
Yeah, my inner cameraman is thinking that with the whole pylon camera thing, that might have been a good shot. I don't know. Most of the pylon camera shots were just of players like colliding with it and it going flying and making everybody sick. So anyways,
that pylon cam has kind of grown on me. When I first saw it, I thought it was ridiculous. But there's been some okay moments. Gives you a new perspective. Always nice.
Right.
The fly cam can only do so much.
Right. You know what else? Speaking of the fly cam and like the whole, there's been a lot more. They've like increased the audio on the field.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was kind of sketchy sometimes. I mean, NFL football players, the things that come out of their mouths. I don't know. It seems like I guess what the TV networks are trying to do is they're trying to immerse their audience more in the game. Like as soon as somebody scores a touchdown, there's already like a cameraman up in their face on the field. So, anyways, we digress a lot.
But at least it's like an interesting topic, I think. Maybe not. Yeah. I don't know. If you're into cameras, but
yeah, exactly. This is not a camera blog though. This is not a camera podcast.
Maybe we'll have to start up.
So we better get back to football.
Okay. Maybe on Thursdays or something we can start, a camera podcast. I don't know how we'd make it anything lengthy, but just an idea. All right. Maybe we should get back on topic. I don't know. This is getting bad over here.
Okay, let's get back on the rails here. So
quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Peyton Manning?
Quarterbacks, maybe.
NFL?
Papa John's.
Oh.
Wait, no, not Papa John's. You're right. No, we were talking about Peyton Manning.
Okay,
yeah.
Peyton Manning.
Because we were talking about Peyton Manning and how his Denver Broncos beat the New England Patriots by a score of 20-18 on Sunday to head to the Super Bowl. We were talking about quarterbacks, but I think we should probably talk more about defense, in particular the Denver Broncos defense.
Denver Broncos defense, man, that I think it's fair to say that won them the game. It's given them a good season overall, and they kind of showed up again when they really needed to against one of the NFL's top offenses, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it was good for them.
They were.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you got it. Go. All yours, man.
All right. What I was saying is, like, going into the game, we knew that the Denver defense was the best defense in the league. I mean, that was like one of the first things that was said. Whoever was commentating, Phil Simms possibly, might have been the one to say, he pointed out that this is the number one defense in the league, and that that they're facing up against Tom Brady. It seemed to me, and this is funny because our last podcast, we had our long discussion about how Tom Brady is not, in our opinions, the best quarterback to ever play the game. He didn't look very good. I mean, his numbers, when you look at his numbers from the game, they're shaky, I think it's fair to say. 27 of 56. He still put up a lot of yards, but he put up 310 yards. But factor in the fact that the leading rusher for the Patriots against the Broncos was Tom Brady with 13 yards. So you talk about a shutdown defense when it comes to the run game, especially. The Broncos were all over him.
Yeah.
And Garrett, if you want to mention the offensive line for the Patriots really just could not contain the pass rushers.
I think that was the story of the game, more or less. It seemed like almost every play, I wish I could find a percentage on it. It seems like every play, Tom Brady was under duress, and that had a huge impact on the game, probably a huge impact on his stats. He got sacked only 4 times, but that's kind of a skewed stat because you have to look at how much he was actually under pressure, how much he was hurried, and it was almost every throw. Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware were in there. Derek Wolfe, I believe, was also all over him. And that's going to be a huge factor moving forward into the Super Bowl because you have most likely the MVP of the league. We will find that out pretty soon. Quarterbacking the Carolina Panthers, and so they're going to have to step up. The secondary will have to step up, but the wide receivers are not the best for the Panthers, and it's going to really ride on Cam Newton. And if they do what they did to Tom Brady, that's going to increase their chances of winning this game, incredibly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much, because, especially against the Cardinals, Cam Newton was under very little pressure. Now, Cam Newton might just be the best quarterback in the NFL when it comes to scrambling and, making plays as it go. Not in the sense, not like a Russell Wilson type where, he can just do everything on the run and throw, but, his ground game where he can just take off, that can really hurt your team, and so that makes you not want to put as much pressure on him. So, as much as like Garrett said, as much as we weren't cheering for the Patriots in this game, but that's just a personal bias, we can't discredit them because this game was only won by 2 points, and in fact it came down to a 2-point conversion. I actually didn't get to see the 2-point conversion. I was receiving play-by-play texts from Garrett, and that was incredible, by the way. Excellent play-by-play.
I try my best.
Maybe there's a future for that. I know play-by-play now is with voice, but maybe there's a future play-by-play through text.
Well, there has been on Twitter. There's some accounts that are pretty up to date with the plays. They get out there pretty quickly.
Are they? Interesting. Huh.
I'll look into it.
Yeah. Give me a report because I'd like to know. So, anyways, you have to credit the Patriots because, even though Tom Brady was under pressure a lot, the defense for the Broncos played so well and we were able to contain them. The Patriots still fought back and they still got to within a 2-point conversion. That was all that was necessary to tie the game, to force an overtime, which would have been unbelievable. Another NFL overtime to decide a conference championship. That's just not the ideal situation. So I thank the Broncos defense for making that not come true. But in the end, definitely Denver's defense wins the game. We'll talk about that going forward here when we talk about the Super Bowl preview kind of thing that we'll get into. Garrett, did you have any final thoughts on this Broncos-Patriots game?
Well, you mentioned that you wanted to thank the defense for not causing or not letting another overtime, but I want to go back earlier in the game, and I can't remember how much you saw of this, but Gostkowski for the Patriots missed an extra point, and this was his first missed extra point in 500 since 2006. He had never missed an extra point. He was good all this season, and of course, when it was an 18-yard chip shot, he was good for many seasons. Now, if he would have made that, obviously there's so much in between the end of the game and when he missed that extra point. But if he would have made that and the Patriots score that touchdown, all they need is another extra point and it goes into overtime. And it's been kind of a relatively discussed topic, but again, like I just said, I hate it. Gostkowski after the game took the blame for the loss, and I just don't understand because if I'm not mistaken, that was on the first touchdown for the Patriots in the very first quarter. There's so much in between that rides on the offense and the defense of the Patriots, not on Stephen Gostkowski. That's not on him. I mean, of course, you can look at it that way, that he missed it and that set up them having to go for the 2-point conversion. But I think it's kind of ridiculous when two plays so far apart and so separate, and then someone gets blamed for it. Like Gostkowski is really, I think he's blaming himself more than anyone else is blaming him. But still, it had an impact on the game. But yeah, I think Denver Broncos walk away, man. They're moving on. Good to see it, you know. I think the Denver Broncos are definitely a team someone whose team is already eliminated can cheer for, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they're a respectable team. They've got one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, classy guy that is Peyton Manning, and they're fun to watch. They are a really fun team to watch. Speaking of fun, there's a guy named Cam Newton who's having a lot of fun. Moving on to the NFC Championship, the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers out in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, if you watch this game, if you watch the game, I hope you're a Panthers fan or you were cheering for the Panthers. If you didn't watch the game, you didn't really miss that much, other than like Carson Palmer having an awful game. So let's talk a little bit about this blowout. I mean, from the start, just like the Seattle game, wasn't it, that the Panthers got off to a really hot start. That's something that they've seemed to, you know, been able to do really well, probably better than any other team in the league. That's why they're 15-1. I mean, did you see similarities in the start to the Seattle game?
I think so. I mean, the game itself looked pretty similar. Luckily, Seattle didn't turn the ball over, 7 times I think it was. But it's just like you said, it's that quick start. Carolina came out there and they made it tough for the Cardinals right away. They put up 17 in the first quarter. I mean, teams can do that, but not on a regular basis like Carolina has, and against the top teams in their conference. I mean, Seattle and Arizona are 2 of the top in the league, if not even just the NFC, and Carolina goes and makes like a mockery out of them. I mean, just this Cardinals defense, I think, has been one of the more respected ones in the league. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, which hurts them a lot, but still, to give up 17 in a quarter to a team is ridiculous. I mean, it sets you back for the rest of the game, and that set the tone for the entire game. And it was ugly on the Cardinals' part. It was really ugly. They couldn't get anything going. I mean, it seems like every team Carolina faces, the team just stalls out. I mean, 7 turnovers in a game. When's the last time you've heard of that, especially in a conference championship? Unbelievable.
Yeah. And Carson Palmer, I mean, I don't know what the heck. I don't know what was up with him, because he played well against the Packers. I mean, he played really well against the Packers, and him going out there, the throws that he was making just didn't make sense. And
he was
throwing into like double coverage.
Yeah, and he was an MVP candidate. If you take away Cam Newton, he was one of the top options for MVP.
Yeah, poor decision making. I mean, just a lot of just strange things that you wouldn't expect to see from Carson Palmer, you know, let alone any quarterback who makes it to the conference championship. Larry Fitzgerald was 0 for 1 on the passing game. I forgot about that one.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That was a tough play. It was so weird. It was like a double handoff, and then I was like, okay, Larry's got nowhere to run, and then he just threw the ball. Like, he just chucked it downfield, and I was like,
Classic.
What the heck? Man.
He's a multi-dimensional player.
Apparently.
Yeah. And you gotta feel bad for Larry Fitzgerald because, well, I don't know. I don't think feel bad for him is the right word, but he's of course just the classiest of the classiest. You know, he's the best guy ever, and he still is unfortunately without a Super Bowl. So I don't know. Maybe things ahead for the Cardinals. Maybe they can regather themselves and look forward. I mean, so you know, as I was watching this game and watching Carolina, and I remember I think you texted me this, Garrett. Like you said, you just like don't understand how they are so good.
Yeah.
Because they just make plays. They just make things happen. I mean, I just want to point out, before we talk about that, I just want to point out that Cam Newton was 19 of 28, which is phenomenal. 335 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had an interception. He was only sacked once. The rushing game, Jonathan Stewart, 83 yards. Cam Newton added 47. Ted Ginn Jr. had a big run. Greg Olsen and Corey Brown both ended with 113 yards on the catching game. Ted Ginn added 52. I mean, it's like everybody is contributing on the offensive side of the things. They had just big plays from their defense, of course. Luke Kuechly came up with a lot of tackles. You have Robert McClain making tackles, Thomas Davis making tackles, and he got hurt, didn't he?
Thomas Davis broke his arm, yeah.
Yeah, 6 tackles on the day, and he broke his arm. So, I mean, we're talking like he could have had a lot more. I mean, just like everybody is making plays on their team. I guess they're just a true just team. Everybody does what they're supposed to do, and everybody makes plays. But back to your point about how, like you were saying, you just you're watching the game and you don't understand how they're so good.
And I don't mean to take away from I mean this for any team. If this could be any team out on the field. I'm watching this, and obviously when you're watching on TV and they've got their cameras on Cam Newton and he's back, in shotgun or whatever, you can't always see the receivers downfield. He throws this ball, and it seems like every time he throws the ball. Now he made good throws in this game when there was, tight windows, but against Seattle and sometimes in this game, it just seemed like the receivers had 5 yards of space in every direction around them. Just a circle of 5 yards, no defenders in the area. And I'm wondering how do they get that open? It's unbelievable to me. And yeah. I want to point out this defense, the Carolina defense. If you look at the Arizona receiving stats, David Johnson is your leading receiver with 9 receptions, 5 more than anyone else on the team. 68 yards is your top receiver. And then Michael Floyd has 3 catches, and Larry Fitzgerald has 4 for 30. So Michael Floyd and Larry Fitzgerald, who have been the 2 top receivers easily on this team all year, get 7 catches for 67 yards. And people like to talk about Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, understandably. And the defensive line has been performing all year, but this Carolina secondary, Josh Norman might have a case for Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive MVP, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
They have been making, like you said, man, this is a team effort. That's the definition of a team effort. They're clicking on all cylinders. Their chemistry is high. You can see it. They love that they're playing this game. They enjoy it. This is going to be a hard team to beat. I hate to say it. They can get on my nerves sometimes, but they look unbelievable right now.
Yeah. So, on that note, like we said, the Panthers, they're going to the Super Bowl. Obviously, it'll be Panthers versus Broncos. Let's just talk about kind of a preview, if you will. I mean, I don't know. Personally, like you said, I don't see a way for the Broncos to beat the Panthers without them literally coming out and just putting in their performance of their lives, or the Panthers just blow it. I mean, because what the Broncos defense, I can see the Broncos defense giving the Panthers offense a really tough time. Maybe they can slow him down in the beginning because the Panthers have been off to a good start every single game. So maybe the Broncos defense can hold them down and try to open up the opportunities for the offense. But like you were just saying, Garrett, their defense has been so just shut down. Peyton Manning, I don't know if he's going to be able to pick apart the defense like he has been able to in the past. I mean, you saw what he just really wasn't able, even though the Broncos won the game against the Patriots, they didn't put in a fantastic performance, the Broncos, on the offensive side of things. I mean, do you think there's any way, what are your thoughts as far as ways for the Broncos to be able to beat the Panthers?
I mean, I think there's a chance. It really, to me, comes down to the defense, and I would say maybe the running game. Because I think if their defense can slow down, I kind of said this about the Patriots too. If their defense can slow down the Patriots offense enough just to give Peyton Manning a chance to win the game. Peyton Manning's still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He can do it. He's been there. He's not going to be nervous. Well, kind of the same thing here. If they can slow down that Panthers offense enough and limit their points and limit their offensive output to a point where it is manageable for the Broncos to make a run at it. And I think the running game is going to have an impact, and I say that because not only does it open up the passing game, but we've seen that there's been a lot of wear and tear, if you want to call it that, on Peyton Manning's body. He just hasn't had the same physical domination, I guess, or passing the ball like he has before in the past. But also one thing you cannot take away from Peyton Manning, regardless of his physical skills right now, is he is one of the best play callers and one of the best at reading defenses. I would say the best in history. And I think that's going to give him a huge advantage. They can open up that running game, get that turn loose. Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, still two great wide receivers, can go out there and make an impact. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to that defense because the defense did it against New England. They were able to slow them down. They only put up 18 points in the game. Even so, 20 if they would have gotten that 2-point conversion. They limit them to 20 in a game. That's incredible against the Patriots. If they can do that against Carolina Panthers and maybe get them off rhythm, there's a chance. I don't know if they're going to be able to take that chance, but it'll be there at least.
And I just have a tough time seeing. I don't think the Broncos have faced, as much of a high-powered offense as the Panthers have. To your point about, the run game, David Johnson had 60 yards against the Panthers defense in 15 carries. Granted, he had a long of 23. When I was watching the game, it seemed like that's where, at least for the Cardinals, that's where they were getting the most offensive production. Maybe it's just because Carson Palmer was having an awful game and the run game just looked better, but David Johnson looked to be getting some good looks and, looked to be getting some options there and, pick up some yards. So maybe C.J. Anderson for the Broncos, like you said, he could be definitely critical in being able to produce some big numbers. Hopefully, for the Broncos to give them some points, but also, like you said, to open up the passing game for Peyton Manning.
Because if you look at C.J. Anderson against the Patriots, he had 16 carries for 72 yards, which is a decent stat line. He was averaging 4.5 per. That I think that's a fair game for him. And it was, again, the Patriots defense is definitely one of the better in the leagues. They're not a bad defense. Not easy, to put up yards and score against. But Emmanuel Sanders was the leading receiver with 62 yards, and he had a 34-yard catch, which was actually unbelievable if you didn't see it. And I just think that's an issue. I've been mixing these two up all day. Peyton Manning, he's got to put up yards. He only had 176 in that game, and that's not going to cut it against the Panthers. And I think everyone knows that. He knows that. The Panthers know it. Broncos fans know it. He's got to play better. And if Peyton Manning can realize that this might be his last game in the NFL ever. It's a Super Bowl. If he can just go and put everything he has out there, and again, if that defense shows up and Peyton Manning can just, pull a Peyton Manning game, maybe this is their year. Maybe this is their year to take one.
Yeah. It would be, I think it would be phenomenal for Peyton Manning to be able to head out with a Super Bowl ring. That would be awesome. So that's kind of the perspective as far as the Broncos side of things goes. As for the Panthers, I mean, what more do you have to say? I mean, just keep playing the way that you've been playing. Cam Newton, I think he'll. I mean, there's just not much to say. They've been playing so well. Just keep doing what they've been doing. Keep up the high-powered offense. If they start early, they'll be, definitely on the track to winning. And I guess turnovers could be key in this game, mind you. Now, the Panthers don't really turn over the ball that much. Cam Newton doesn't throw many interceptions, but if there are any opportunities for turnovers, certainly, especially, in the Super Bowl, you have to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes down. Interesting note that the Broncos have elected to wear white, and the Panthers are going to be going with their black uniforms out in Santa Clara. Also, did you see this, Garrett, that the NFL is no longer using Roman numerals? Because this, I don't know why, this is Super Bowl 50, not Super Bowl 50 Roman numeral.
They're going, it's Super Bowl 50 just for this year, and then once, I guess, next season when it gets back to 51, they're going back to the Roman numerals. I don't know, they're probably just something to do with advertising probably, and just kind of the impact of 50 as opposed to just a singular Roman numeral. One other thing I want to mention about Cam Newton, he's been so exceptional this season, and he's been able to produce in the passing game and produce running the ball as well. But he's also been a great game manager. In the regular season, he only had 15 turnovers, 10 interceptions, 5 fumbles, and he's only got 1 in the postseason so far, which is 1 interception this past game. So I think he understands that, he has to have some offensive output, but he's also got in his mind, and I think this is a maturity thing, that sometimes it's better just to throw it out of bounds. If there's no throw there, don't force it, and that's something that I think has changed in his game and has really elevated him to be a top 5, top 3 quarterback in the league right now. And it's so important, I believe. It's probably one of the most important things at the quarterback position. It's just to realize that you're only going to get so many chances against a defense, and especially a defense like Denver, and he can't give them any extra possessions, can't waste anything. So I think that's just been a huge growth in his game, really put him up to that next level, and it's going to be exciting to see that against a top team on the top stage in the NFL.
Yeah, so possibly the MVP of the league, Cam Newton, at quarterback for the Panthers, will be trying to lead that Panthers team against the Denver Broncos. That'll be the game of the year. It always is, the Super Bowl in Santa Clara, California, Levi Stadium. Really looking forward to that. That'll be a great Super Bowl Sunday. That's 2 weeks from now, isn't it?
Yeah. Pro Bowl.
Right. Oh, man. That's right. The Pro Bowl. The illustrious Pro Bowl. I just sent Garrett a text the other day, and I was like, because I saw this thing about the Packers, how Julius Peppers got called. Because the Broncos and the Panthers players, some of them aren't going to be there now, and it's like Julius Peppers got the call to be in the Pro Bowl. I would just wonder, as an NFL player, if you're sitting there, your season's over, you can, finally relax a little bit. Then, you get a call from the league, and they're like, hey, we want you to be in our Pro Bowl. You better come down here to, Hawaii. Now, granted, it is Hawaii, and it's probably more of a vacation for the players than anything. But, I don't know. On a personal note, I'm not a football player, obviously, but I might just want to be like, no thanks. Let me just enjoy myself and my family. Do what I want to do,
Yeah, I feel like it depends on what team you're on, because I think if you're on a team that didn't even make it to the playoffs and you had some time off and they're like, hey, you want to go to Hawaii and kind of put a little bit of effort into a game, I'd be like, well, yeah. But if I was coming off like a divisional or wild card round loss and I had just gotten done with my season and I'm still kind of, getting over the loss and having to adjust to the off season, I don't know if I'd want to go. But man, yeah, if I was like I don't know, Jaguars or Saints or someone, I'd be pretty content with going to Hawaii for a little bit, spending some time out there.
All right, yeah.
Actually, I saw the Seahawks kicker Steven Hauschka took a spur of the moment trip to Hawaii, 2 days in advance. I think he booked this, and it was right after they lost. I was like, I thought that was so random. I would not want to be in Hawaii when there's a Pro Bowl event going on. I don't know. I feel like it'd be really awkward if you were in Hawaii and you ran into an NFL player that was in the Pro Bowl and you were just kind of there on vacation.
And you're not on the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, you're just there. You're just hanging out.
You're like, hey.
And they're like, oh, are you in...
You find yourself in the stands.
Yeah, are you in the game or what team are you on? And you're just like, taking some surfing lessons, man. I don't know about you. I don't know.
Well, so, yeah. Well, I guess that's right. We've got the Pro Bowl to look forward to.
The jerseys are kind of cool.
Enjoy that one.
I don't know if you've seen the new jerseys. Yeah. I don't know who.
The one thing that I do, it's pretty cool about the Pro Bowl is to see all of the players wearing their team helmets.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I find interesting.
They do that, man. Don't they do that in the MLB All-Star Game? At least at the beginning or something.
I know. I'm not sure.
I think they all wear their hats.
I mean, for the home run derby and stuff, they do wear their team jerseys. The MLB All-Star. I mean, I respect All-Star games from certain sports. I feel like the Pro Bowl, the NFL Pro Bowl, I just can't really get into it. It's just not my favorite thing. But kind of same thing with NBA. I don't really want to sit there and just watch an NBA game that ends up in a score of 150 to 140.
Yeah.
That's just. But now an MLB game. I mean, I enjoy watching baseball for the most part. So,
and
that's just me. And you get a different cycle. The MLB All-Star rosters are pretty big, so you get a different cycle of players.
And the thing with the MLB game is they're actually playing for something. They're playing for home field advantage in the World Series. So they're
oh, that's
no,
right.
It seems like the Pro Bowl doesn't mean anything. Those players aren't going to go and put out an effort. But in the MLB game, you've got the top players, and they're, at least I think they're putting out their best performance to try and get the win.
Yeah, exactly. And the NHL All-Star game, they try to put some. They've really tried to revamp it as much as they can. Now this year that's a 3-on-3 tournament type thing, and so they're really trying hard to promote their All-Star game, which I respect them for that. I don't know. I think the competitions before the All-Star game are more fun than the actual All-Star game.
Yeah.
But
so another issue with the Pro Bowl is that they schedule it in between the conference championships and the Super Bowl, and it's just kind of there. I don't understand, but
it hasn't always been there, has it?
I
thought it was after the Super Bowl for a period of time.
I'm not positive. I think it's. Nope. I don't think any player would ever want to play after a Super Bowl and then go to the Pro Bowl, but it's just kind of a weird thing. And I know they've talked about getting rid of it, but we'll see. I don't know. Everyone's looking forward. Everyone's looking forward to the Super Bowl. You never hear the Pro Bowl talked about. It's always about the Super Bowl. So I guess that's what we might. We'll be talking about that next week too. I don't think we're going to be talking about the Pro Bowl. So
yeah. Well, we'll find out. So like we said at the beginning of the show, this is we've been titling these podcasts the Football Edition because that's really what we've been focusing on for the longest time with the B&O Sports Show. We were talking about football, NFL, college. But now, seeing that the football seasons are about over, the college football season is over, it's time to branch out into some of the other big-time sporting events that are going on right now, namely the NBA, the NHL, and we're even going to cover some soccer. I think some Premier League soccer. Garrett and I are both Premier League fans, and so we'll get you into that. Let's go ahead and jump into the NBA here. Kind of cover what's been going on. Of course, the biggest news, the biggest result was last night, Monday night. The San Antonio Spurs played the Golden State Warriors. This was, of course, like the matchup of the year so far between the top teams in the entire NBA, in the Western Conference. And I mean, safe to say that the Warriors proved that they are just unbelievable. Final score of 120-90. I mean, like, they just completely dismantled San Antonio. There was never a quarter in the game in which, in which San Antonio was leading at the end of the quarter. I mean, I don't know if you're able to see any highlights from this game, Garrett, but there's just, like, unbelievable highlights of Stephen Curry, just absolutely. There was, like, one where he's, like, absolutely faking out Kawhi Leonard with a nice little spin move and just gets him lost and then knocks down a three. I mean, this team is just unbelievable.
The thing about the Warriors, and I want to kind of bring up a question for you and see where you stand on this, and maybe I'll give my opinion. Everyone talks about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, everyone. And I fully understand two of the best players in the league. But if you had to say who is more important to this team, Stephen Curry or Draymond Green is the one I want to bring up. I mean, what would be your opinion on that? I feel like there's like an easy answer to this, but I feel like there's also an argument for Draymond Green. I don't know. We'll see how you feel, and I'll make my opinion.
I think without a doubt, Draymond Green is extremely important to this team. I don't think there's anybody right now. There's nobody on the Warriors. There's nobody on the Golden State Warriors that's more important to the team than Steph Curry, because he is, as of right now, he's proven to be the best player in the league. But his leadership on the court. Of course, he just knocks down. He's going to knock down and he's going to bring you some serious buckets. But I just feel like his presence on the court, his playmaking ability, his three, his range, everything about him is crucial to the way that the Warriors play. And when he wasn't there, obviously, I believe they lost one of their games because he wasn't playing. Now I think that might also be true about Draymond Green. I think like, if you were going to give like an MVP award to, Steph Curry, you might as well give like a miniature MVP award to Draymond Green, because he's right up there with him. I mean, he's probably the most like not talked about, crucial player to a team that there is, just because Steph Curry kind of overshadows everybody on the team. But personally, I think that Steph Curry is the most important player to this team. But without a doubt, Draymond Green's he's just a fantastic player. I mean, he's got just about everything to his game, and so he does provide vital points, vital assists, vital rebounds. He's a physical presence on the court for the Warriors, but again, for me, it's Steph Curry is the most important player for them. He's their MVP this season so far. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, it is hard to argue against Steph Curry because he's the best player in the league right now. But I mean, Draymond Green, if I'm not mistaken, he's leading the league in triple doubles right now. He just like you see, he just brings a lot to the game and to the team. He's putting up a lot in a lot of different stat categories, and I definitely think he's the most versatile on the team. I just think if he wasn't there, they'd have a tougher time in more areas than if Stephen Curry wasn't. If Stephen Curry wasn't there, obviously they lose a lot of points, big offensive output. But Draymond Green, he's there. He's providing points. He's providing assists, which for a big man isn't always a common theme, and he's obviously there on the offensive boards. So I like him. He's one of my favorite players in the league, definitely on the Warriors. So I figured I'd bring up a little discussion about it. Best team in the league.
Yeah.
Always good to talk about them.
So, going back to the game, we have to note that Tim Duncan was not present on the court. We were talking a little bit about this before the podcast. obviously Tim Duncan is not a 30-point player. He's not going to make a 30-point difference. But how do you think? I mean, I think that he definitely would have changed the game just because he has, it's Tim Duncan. He has a huge presence in the paint. While his numbers aren't, spectacular, they're not as spectacular as they were in his prime, he still puts up important, numbers. He's still a leader on the court. He still is a confidence booster, all those things. I mean, do you think that the game, how do you think the game would have changed had he been on the floor?
I think, yeah, he's just got, he definitely brings a presence. He's still a good rebounder. He's just, he's a legendary player. He's easily a Hall of Famer. He might be the best power forward, if you want to put him at that position, of all time. I don't know. It definitely would have not given them the win, but I think it definitely would have changed the game a little bit, as he always does as an impact player. His minutes are down, but if you look at him, he's 39. He's still playing like 26 a game. It's just unbelievable for someone his age, and he still gets what is he averaging this season? 6 rebounds a game, like 8 assists, I believe. That might be wrong. 8 rebounds. He brings an element to the game. It changes the team, and I think it lets the Spurs play more of the style that they want to every game. Because obviously Coach Popovich, he's one of the best coaches in the league, and he's built a playing style for this team this season, and that obviously involves Tim Duncan being out there for the 26 minutes he's out there, and when he's not out there at all in the game, it's going to have an impact like if any major player, any starter was out the entire game.
So Greg Popovich was obviously not pleased with the result of that game. I was watching the kind of like a little post-game conference with him, and he said something to the effect of, "I'm glad that the GM wasn't in the locker room when I came in there because I probably would have gotten fired." Meaning not like the performance of the team was so bad that he would have been fired, but that like I don't know what goes on in that locker room, but something happened. The wrath of Coach Pop, So, so that was a huge statement for the Golden State Warriors. I know a lot of people were questioning, here comes the 2 best teams in the league. Let's see how it pans out. It could be a close game, should be a close game, and it ended up just being, the Warriors trampling the Spurs. So we'll see how that kind of pans out over the season. Of course, we'll see how Golden State continues to run with their 4 losses. The Spurs only have 7 losses. They're still the second best team in the league, and they can still find a formula to be able to come back and to beat Golden State. But we'll see what happens.
And they're not out of the number 1 seed. They're only 3 games behind, and a lot of things can happen in the season still. It's easy for a team to drop, a couple games in a row, and the Spurs just keep winning. So it's gonna be great to see how that ends up. 2 of the best it seems like right now 2 of the best teams in like recent, in the decade or something recent era, because these records that they're putting up, 7 losses and 4 losses through the season so far. It looks like Golden State's going to have a chance at the best record, so it's going to be fun to watch. Yeah. You figure that might be the Western Conference Final. That'll be a heck of a time seeing them play at least 4 games, if not 6 or 7.
Right. So, yeah, we'll be looking forward to that as the season goes on. Some other notes here on the NBA. The Cleveland Cavaliers have their first win under their new head coach, Tyronn Lue, after the whole David Blatt fiasco. There's just, there's all sorts of stuff about whether or not LeBron was involved in the firing of David Blatt. I don't really care too much to get into this unless you do, Garrett, but I think even though everybody's denying the fact that he was not, involved, I don't think that, it's LeBron's team, That's what it seems like. It's
been LeBron's team ever since he came back. I don't know how you really dispute that too much.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that he had some say in it. Whether they tell you that's true or not is, beside the point. So the Cavaliers, they're still the best team in the Eastern Conference as of right now, as far as the record goes. But I don't know. After that Warriors loss, where they lost to the Warriors, they just got destroyed by the Warriors. It seemed like everybody kind of forgot the fact that they're the best team in the Eastern Conference and that they have LeBron James and Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and all those guys who can make plays. It kind of just like everybody just forgot about that, and they were just like, let's heap as much negative media and negative attention on them as possible, because they got nothing but negatives from that game. But mind you, they're still the best team in the Eastern Conference. Wouldn't be surprised to see them back in the NBA championship, even though that's like a really long time from now. I don't know. A Golden State Warriors Cleveland Cavaliers rematch, wouldn't be surprising.
No.
But you never know.
I think the Cavaliers, especially once they kind of get rolling with this new coach, they might be dangerous. LeBron wanted them. Well, he didn't want anything, but LeBron wanted them there for a reason. So we'll see if they can get something going.
Yeah, they claim that they want to get running and be a more athletic team. I think they need they need to fix chemistry issues. We were talking about how the Panthers have such fantastic team chemistry. That could be definitely something that's lacking in the Cavaliers. They have a lack of chemistry. They have a lack of trust.
Yeah, they're definitely a good team. It seems like they're just one step away from being a great team.
Right. So, let's see. Oh, that's right. The Blake Griffin incident here. Some news today came out that Blake Griffin was, basically it sounds like he punched I don't know about punch, but he hurt his hand with a throwing forward motion at somebody who happened to be a staff member of the team. And what did he do? Fracture his hand? Or
yeah, he
had a...
I don't know what it officially... He broke here we go. He broke a bone in his right hand.
Oh my gosh. What? What? I don't understand. Unless either that guy's face is made of steel, or he missed and just hit a brick wall.
Yeah, the Clippers confirmed that Griffin suffered the injury throwing a punch. He hit... Let's see. He hit... Oh man, Mateus Testi. I'm not sure. It's definitely Italian. Team's assistant equipment manager. What argument are you having with an assistant equipment manager that really boils up to the point of you punching him in the face or something?
And I don't understand it, because I remember reading it that they had an altercation inside the restaurant, and then the equipment manager left, and then Blake Griffin got up and followed him outside and continued the altercation outside. Unless they were the only two ones in that entire place.
Yeah, no one's stopping him. There's no one getting up.
How did none of the teammates? Where were his teammates? Come on.
Chris Paul's at home. He's a family man.
Gotta love Chris Paul.
Here we go. The two are good friends, according to sources who said that they have vacationed together. I don't know why that's an important
Maybe they were
factor,
just extremely under the influence.
It'll be interesting to see if anything comes out like that, and it's also going to be interesting to see what the Clippers do. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, but you would assume there's some discipline here for hitting an assistant.
If the assistant, if he's really unless he really is friends and he's nah, man, it's okay. We were we were drunk. He could press charges or do something.
Yeah. He has had visible injuries to his face. If you take a punch from Blake Griffin, I would think you have visible injuries. But
what is he 6'10", 250?
I don't know. He's not a guy that I'm.
Crime and eat.
No,
that is scary. I don't know. I could see a lot of bad things happening for, seeing those Kia commercials with Blake Griffin. I don't know if we'll be seeing those anymore.
Hey, you know what would be interesting?
What's that?
It'll be interesting if the Clippers play the 76ers, Blake Griffin and Jahlil Okafor. Those two might go at it. They've had, Jahlil Okafor likes to punch people. Blake Griffin, now he's punching someone.
What about DeMarcus Cousins?
Oh, man. Hey, shout out
to
DeMarcus Cousins. Puts up 56 and then loses.
56 points. Boogie Cousins, and then loses.
Only the Kings.
Didn't he foul? He
yeah,
fouled
I'm
out
pretty sure
too.
He fouled out. Yeah.
That's unlucky. That is really unlucky. He probably would have had like 70. Probably not. That's an impressive. I think it was a season high, wasn't it? Like for the entire NBA.
It might be. I don't think I've heard of anyone.
I don't think anybody scored 56 points. So, yeah, shout out to DeMarcus Cousins. Well, I think that's about it for the NBA. Obviously, we'll cover more of that, more in depth. We're pretty much wrapping up the podcast here. We wanted to talk a little bit about the NHL, but we might forego that to the next podcast. I do want to just throw in real fast. If you remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how John Scott was the All-Star captain. Let me just take a second and explain what happened in this fiasco. Basically, John Scott, the 6'8", non-skilled hockey player for the Phoenix Coyotes, the Arizona Coyotes, sorry about that, was elected by the fans as an all-star captain in the NHL All-Star Game. The fans thought it was, all fun and games to vote him into the All-Star captaincy. He had the most votes. And the NHL was like, no, we don't want this. This is not at all what we were expecting, please. And so basically they came to him. They said, look, John, we want you to drop out of the All-Star Game. And he said no. And then the NHL went to the team and said, Arizona, we need you to make him not be in the All-Star Game. And so Arizona went to him and said, we want you out of the All-Star Game. And he said no. And so then the Coyotes sent him to the AHL and then traded him to the Montreal Canadiens, who don't need John Scott. So the Montreal Canadiens sent him down to the AHL, and the NHL goes, well, he's down in the AHL, and that disqualifies him from being a captain of the All-Star Game. Like the NHL has any rules in the rule book that say, when fan elected captain for All-Star Game is sent down to AHL, this disqualifies him. No. There's no way for that. So, basically, there was a huge uproar from the fans. After all, they were the ones who wanted him there. #FreeJohnScott was started. And after the many, many cries for John Scott, the NHL, quote-unquote, reviewed the rule book and came forward and said, yeah, fine, he's now back in the All-Star.
Oh, that must have been like, was that maybe Chapter 27, Article 5, I think? If I know my rule book.
Article 5, Section 27.
Yeah.
Paragraph 35.
Yeah, that's like memory.
Yeah.
From reviewing the rule book,
should be common knowledge for those.
Yeah, true.
Right. So, I mean, I guess the fans got what they wanted. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm looking forward to John Scott in the All-Star Game. I will not lie.
Can you imagine seeing John Scott out there with some of the best players in the league?
He's gonna be skating around with Anze Kopitar. Think about Patrick Kane is out there. All of these All-Stars, some of the best players in the league are going to be out there. Steven Stamkos. I mean, I'm just naming just random players off the top of my head. But let's compare Patrick Kane, who's by far right now the best player in the league, to a John Scott. Patrick Kane was elected as the captain of the Central Division, or Central Conference. Can't remember how the NHL has their structure now, but basically, yeah, Patrick Kane, John Scott. Just let that sink in. Former teammates, by the way. Really enjoyed when John Scott was on the Blackhawks.
I picture John Scott scoring in this game. And there is plenty of scoring, and I would assume being a captain, he'll be out there, decent amount of time. Can you imagine the fans and the crowd at this game if John Scott scores a goal?
Oh, that'll be nuts. I mean, and he's a comedic figure. I mean, he's really funny. He's a funny guy. He's really likable. That's why the fans voted him in, not just because he's a 6'8", not very skilled hockey player, and they thought it'd be funny. He's actually really likable and really funny. So I'm sure it'll be all fun and games for him and his family going out to Nashville for the All-Star Game. So that'll be fun. Really looking forward to that. Well, I think we've just about ran out of time here, Garrett.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to come to a close here. Any final thoughts for this episode 8 of the B&O Sports Show?
Man, I don't believe. I usually say, looking forward to the NFL games, but I don't. It's just the Pro Bowl. Nothing too exciting there. No, man, I'm having a good time. You having a good time with this podcast?
I'm having a great time.
It's been fun, man. I like it, you know. Good little addition to the week. Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
Yep.
It's fun. I like it. That's what I've got.
Well, we're just trying to... Just got to keep on keeping on, you know.
I think that about does this. This was episode 8 of the B&O Sports Show. Switching it up. Just a regular edition now. No football edition, you know. Who needs those? Well, that does us in for this episode here. Signing off for Tanner Ballard, I'm Garrett Otto. You guys have a great rest of your night, day, morning, whenever you're tuning into this. Have a great one.